Well, in discussing the mythology, as I always do, um, you often hear the term or the word netter. Neter. The main letters are NTR because the Kemites didn't have the vowel E. And so when, I guess, Egyptologists came across the letters NTR, how do you pronounce that? Well, we just put our E in there, and that'd give us the word netter, and we'd be able to pronounce it. NTR, so we use the E, you know. But there was a God, you know what I mean, who said that he said, I am the chief God. He said, that is Chief Netter. He said, I have all the powers of the preceding gods. You know, what was he saying? He has all the power of the preceding gods. All those gods that came before him, he has their powers. Well, what really did he have? You know, he had the attributes, but they can be called on for, you know what I mean, or evoked. So what he had was the formula that was required to evoke the gods. In other words, the priest at the temple of this God, you know what I mean, and all these formulas, you know, and they say, okay, we have the formulas, so many gods. With these formulas, we can compose our chief God. He'd be the chief of all the gods that preceded him, because we have all the formulas that was used to evoke these gods that came over the thousands of years, you know. We have the formula here, so our God is chief. So their God, they put the words in his mouth, though, you know. The God says, well, like, I'm the chief God. There's no God before me, and no God greater than me, no God above me, etc., etc. Well, that's because the priests at the temple had all the formulas that they could evoke these other gods whenever they want. So they say, well, it's our chief God that has these, you know, these formulas. And so the gods are referred to as netters. So when he say, well, I'm going to, you know, I have the formulas of all the preceding gods, he's talking about all the preceding netters. Okay, but what is the netter? You know, what does the word really mean? Well, let's try to get an understanding of the word netter. Okay, so in the word netter, we have the main letters are NTR. Okay, so if we take the first letter N and the last letter R, we put them together, we get ner, N-E-R, N-R. We throw in the E, the vowel, so we can pronounce it, and we get ner, N-E-R. Now what does that mean? Well, in our word, in the English word, energy, we have the word ner, energy. So the word ner means energy. Okay. Then we can take another two letters. So we take the N and the R again, but we will reverse the letters and we get the word Ren, which means name. Okay. And so it was said that if you pronounce the name Ren, Ren means name, if you pronounce the name of the God, you release its energy. If you pronounce the name of the God correctly, you release its energy. Okay? So now we know what we're getting there with the word netter. And this is all about the netter now, you know. So now we have the letters TR, and we put the E in, we get ter, T-E-R, ter. Now we can associate ter with time. Yeah. In other words, there's a time to do things. Oh, we know. Heard the saying, strike when the iron is hot. Do things at the right time. So now, if we're going to evoke the attributes of a netter, we should do it at the right time. Okay? So now, we know that the gods have formula associated with them. And also the formula tells us, well, you know, you got to do it at the right time. So we have the hours of the day and night, you know. So we can put, it's good to try to evoke the netter at the time that we get from its formula. We can figure that out. But there are formulas, no doubt about that. I mean, they use them all the time. People do. So okay, so now we have the netter. We know what it means. Energy. If we pronounce the name of the God correctly, we can evoke the energy within us that we want in order to perform a certain task or whatever. And then it tells us of the time, you know, the time that we should do this, the time that we should do the evocation, or you can call it performing the ritual if you want. It's just a breathing exercise, actually. But that's what the formula consists of. The formula will tell you, let's say, the number of in-breaths, so forth, so on. It would tell you the time, usually in seconds or minutes, that the breath should be retained, or hold your breath. And it tells us, let's say, the number of seconds involved in exhaling, how long you should inhale the breath after you've retained it for a while. And this would be a formula. You know what I mean? Also involved in these formulas are the pronunciation of the name, or the pronunciation, let's say, to pronounce, for example, what they call words of power. These words have no verbal meaning. They are sounds that have an effect on human physiology. Sound travels throughout the human body. You ever have a loud noise go off nearby? You feel it through your body. The whole thing, you know, your hands, your feet. The sound travels completely through your body. So sound can be used to affect our physiology. It can be used to affect the evocation of the netter, or the God that we want to use, or want to evoke. See? So there was a pharaoh, His name is spelled U-N-A-S. Now, I pronounce it Eunice. Okay, we'll go with that. Somebody may say Eunice, but I'm going to say Eunice. We'll just leave it at that. And they said that Eunice, in the writings, he said that Eunice eats the gods. Huh? Yeah. He said Eunice eats the gods. He eats gods for breakfast, he eats gods for lunch, and he eats gods for dinner. Some writers said, well, Eunice was a cannibal. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't know whether Eunice was a cannibal or not. You know what I mean? But we cannot determine that Eunice was a cannibal because he was eating spirits or because he was eating gods. We can't say he was a cannibal because he's not eating human beings. Yeah, if you were a cannibal, you eat human beings, Well, it didn't say he was eating humans. It said he was eating spirits or some gods, you know what I mean? So, we can say that, well, let's say that all the gods are in us. They are contained within us, okay? Or the netters. They are contained within us. That we have energy within us, and we can give it the letter N. Now, in hieroglyphs, the letter N is like the sine curve. It goes something like that. Okay, and it's a glyph that represents energy, and it also we assign through transliteration, we give it the letter N in English. Okay, so now if we say that N is general energy within our human body for now. We're talking about energy in our human body, even though there's energy everywhere, even in the air we breathe. But anyway, N, letter N, general energy. But now what we want to do, for example, is to evoke a particular netter. Now let's say that you go to a school, a classroom, first day, for example. Let's say it's biology class. And the instructor says, look, talking to the students, he says, when you come into this class, you are a biologist. Forget about everything else. When you come into this class, it is about biology, and you become a biologist. In other words, what he's saying is that you don't want any external interference. All these thoughts that are external to the study of biology. Forget about your boyfriend. Forget about this one. Forget about that. Forget about what you plan to do later on. Just focus on biology so that, it will get clean through to you without interference. So, he's preparing the students for an event, a clear mind, the event, which will facilitate the receiving of his lecture, his instructions. You become susceptible to what is going on in the classroom. You're taking it in. You're very receptive to it, okay? So, given this, you have created a space within yourself. You have, tapped into the general energy, N, okay, to create a space within yourself so that you will become receptive to the instructions, what he tells you. You're relearning things here, you know. Well, we can do that. We can make ourselves very susceptible to things that we want to learn by creating a space within ourselves so that externally things won't interfere. Okay. So now we have, as I said, the letter N. But now we also have, we have the letter A and the word ain, A-N. The letter A is, in the glyphs, is an arm. Cut off here. That arm, okay, is the glyph for letter A. And it means individualization, to individualize something, or to single out something. Okay? But we got the letter N attached to it, A-N, ain. The N is general energy, right? And within us. So what we want to do is to single out something within ourselves. Out of this energy N, we want to single out something, a particular thing that will be helpful to us to perform a task. You see, we want to prepare ourselves to do well, let's say in the class, in the biology class, for example. And so, the letter A, okay, symbolizes our selecting from the letter N, our general energy, okay, the netter, okay, and that will become a space within us for receiving the instructions from the professor. You see. Now, so what we're doing though, when we select this energy from the letter N, or general energy, we are selecting a netter, which well, you know, it's translating into the word God, but by the Westerners. So we select the energy from, or the netter, from the general energy N for a particular purpose. We can do this with everything. Whenever we want to do something, we can sort of meditate on it, and so that we can select the netter, you know what I mean, to help us deal with the situation that we're about to enter. It might be a job interview or something. It could be anything. It could be anything. But we want to prepare ourselves for it. That's what we do by selecting, okay, from the general energy within us, electromagnetic energy. We want to select the proper thing, okay, to help us through what we're about to get involved in. See? And this is, now we have a pretty good idea of the word netter. But what we select from this deposit of energy within our bodies is a netter. It becomes netter. They have a netter for everything. Okay, so now when the word netter is mentioned, well, at least when it's mentioned by me, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know? And so, that's it. we'll get back to Eunice too. And we can say, well, like, when they say Eunice devoured the gods, you know what I mean? They're simply talking about Eunice was able to take certain formulas. And they say if you eat something, it becomes a part of you. So Eunice could take certain formulas, you know, associated with the netters or the gods. And so he would eat these formulas, taking the formula, saying, well, he's eating the gods, okay? He did it various times during the day. Now, he might have been doing certain spiritual exercises during the day, you know what I mean? In the morning, at noon, and at night. Like people pray sometimes 3 times a day. This is what Eunice was doing, okay? He devoured the gods, you know, preparing himself for everyday life. You know, each day, if he did it every day. But Eunice wasn't eating folks. He wasn't eating people, you know. Okay.